Russian military forces have recently conducted exercises near the Ukraine under the watchful eye of President Vladimir Putin. Among the weaponry inspected by the Kremlin leader were intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. One of these was launched in a demonstration flight. Sources in Russia say the moves were designed to test systems to respond to an attack involving nuclear weapons. As part of these moves, the Russian forces simulated launching a large-scale nuclear attack in retaliation. The Russian military reported a successful missile test of the Topol ICBM. One flew across the massive nation before hitting its target. Moscow insists the exercises are not related to the Ukrainian crisis and have been planned since November. The Russian leader has announced he has started withdrawal of forces from the Ukrainian border. He also announced he directed pro-Russian forces in the Ukraine to postpone a vote on secession. However, rebels in eastern parts of that nation rejected the Russian leader's call, saying the vote will take place. Washington reports there is no evidence of a pullout of forces from the Ukrainian border. Meanwhile, the government in Kiev sent 15,000 troops to their border with Russia. Putin is scheduled to attend D-Day ceremonies in France this June, according to the Russian ambassador to Paris.
NATO's muscle flexing is in full swing as the alliance stages its major war games in Estonia. The drills that are being carried out right on the doorstep of Russia include a record 6,000 troops on the ground. The maneuvers, dubbed Spring Storm, include a French cyber-security unit for the first time, along with numerous fighter jets, a missile defense system, several aircraft units as well. All this makes this year's display of might the biggest since 2003. And Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland has made it very clear just who NATO's war games are aimed at.
Our message to Russia is clear. NATO territory is inviolable. And we're mounting a visible deterrent to any Russian efforts to test that. We've bolstered the U.S.-Poland aviation detachment at Wask Air Force Base, and we've maintained a steady U.S. naval presence in the Black Sea. And we've also deployed a total of 750 U.S. ground troops to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania.
All right, let's now have a look at exactly what Nuland was talking about just now and bring up a picture for you of the NATO build-up in Eastern Europe since Ukraine plunged into turmoil. Dozens of fighter jets and several spy planes are already on standby. They could take off at any moment. Also, 2 NATO ships are stationed in the waters off the Black Sea, with another guided missile cruiser reportedly heading their way. RT's Gaine Chichikan now taking a close look at how the alliance has been pushing its borders eastwards.
NATO is pivoting to Russia again. The alliance is looking to deploy more forces close to Russia's borders and to get members to spend more on the military. Its key member, the U.S., which spends more on military than the countries with the next 10 highest budgets combined, is now getting a chance to boast its omnipresence.
Today, the U.S. military is engaged in nearly 100 countries, with nearly 400,000 personnel stationed or deployed around the world.
Now that we're looking at the prospect of an even larger presence of NATO forces in Eastern Europe, the UK Foreign Secretary says it is moving forward in a way that should worry Russia in the long term. Well, Russia has been worried for a while now. 24 years ago, the U.S. promised Russia not to expand NATO eastward, but since the collapse of the Soviet Union, NATO added 12 Eastern European countries to the military alliance and may still be eyeing a few more. Even despite broken promises, Russia and NATO found ways to cooperate on issues like Afghanistan, drug trafficking, non-proliferation, but now even that has been put on ice. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chekyan, RT.
Germany was among the first states to join NATO and is currently a key ally of the U.S. RT did ask some German MPs what they think about the bloc's steady build-up of power. It seems they're none too pleased.
There is no reason why NATO forces should be stationed close to Russia. Neither the Baltic states nor Poland are threatened in any way. The conflict is in Ukraine, and Ukraine is not a member of NATO. Ukraine and Russia are 2 brotherly countries. Right now, Ukraine is split. Russia has sympathies for the progressive forces that are resisting fascism. This is understandable, and it's a good thing. There is an attempt to use this situation to make NATO troops a permanent feature in this region.
Mr. Rasmussen is pouring fuel on the fire by placing NATO troops closer to the Russian border. It goes against the principles of peaceful coexistence.
NATO is accusing Russia of intervening in Ukraine, but the fact is that Ukraine has been getting support from the US via NGOs for years. US government has admitted to investing $5 billion into so-called civil society. Right now, NATO is actively supporting the military operation with its advice and know-how. We see this as an escalation. NATO is pursuing its geopolitical strategic interests. We're not willing to accept that, and we want to return back to the policy of peace. We will fight for that in Parliament.